In the gleaming citadel of Thalzar Prime, the capital of the Thalaxian Empire, Princess Vaelora stood beneath towering crystalline arches, suffocated by the weight of lineage and duty. She stared blankly through the transparent walls at the pulsing lights of orbiting battle stations. Her coronation dress felt more like a shackle than a garment of honor. Today, her engagement to High General Krovar would be formally announced, a union forged not from love, but from the necessity of empire. Krovar had conquered 6 systems in her father's name, leaving trails of subjugated world behind him. Vaelora had never met him in person. She'd seen the reports, the broadcasts of his declarations of loyalty and conquest. Her stomach clenched whenever she saw his hollow eyes, voids that didn't reflect light. The ceremony would bind her to him, merging their bloodlines and consolidating the Empire's military command. The court herald spoke her name. She moved mechanically, each step measured and regal. The Grand Hall was filled with diplomats, nobles, and high-ranking officers from dozens of star systems. They watched her descend the steps of the imperial dais, the picture of composure, unaware of the hurricane of resentment beneath her skin. Every eye was on her, but none truly saw her. Her father, Emperor Tazarel, stood beside the throne. He greeted her with a perfunctory nod. His voice boomed across the chamber, declaring the alliance with Krovar as a sign of unity and strength. Polite applause followed, empty and practiced. A massive hologram of Krovar filled the hall, a delay transmission from a warship station near the Nylorian Rift. The general bowed his head slightly, then spoke of victory, duty, and honor in his harsh, guttural accent. Vaelora's fists clenched behind her ceremonial robes. She returned to her chambers, dismissed by the Emperor as though her function for the day was complete. The moment the doors sealed, she ripped the coronation veil from her head and hurled it to the floor. The quiet hum of atmospheric filters filled the silence. She stared at her reflection, searching for a trace of herself beneath the layers of compliance and tradition. An alert blinked on her private console. Curious, she activated the message. It was an encrypted transmission, military grade, but not from within the palace network. The message contained fragments of corrupted data, wrapped in human syntax. It shouldn't have passed the Empire's filters. But there it was, a systems report from Outpost 17, a forgotten mining station at the fringe of the Thalaxian border. The file ended with a line she couldn't ignore. Power regulator miscalibrated. Recalculated input potential to 87% efficiency. Suggests full diagnostic before solar event. T. A name wasn't listed, just an initial. She replayed the file again, curious. The logic was elegant, the problem-solving pragmatic. The thought that a human had bypassed Thalaxian encryption and solved a technical issue that had stumped 5 of her engineers irritated her and intrigued her. Vaelora accessed archive footage of Outpost 17. She fast-forwarded through hours of data logs, system pings, personnel lists. She finally paused on a repair log recorded from a low-resolution helmet cam. The man, human, average height, lean build, worked alone, rerouting power lines with patient precision. No words, no theatrics, just competence. She replayed it. And again, in a galaxy obsessed with power displays and status, there was something disarmingly honest in his movements. There was no glory in what he did, no audience, just function. She closed the feed and leaned back. For the first time in years, her mind wandered freely. The next day, she ordered a full intelligence brief on Outpost 17 under the pretense of border security. The Empire's disdain for humans had relegated them to menial tasks, yet this one operated well beyond his station. No name, just Technician T, Earth Origin clearance. She filed an override request to gain direct comms access. That night, she dreamed of cold steel corridors, not royal banquets, of hands stained with grease instead of ink and perfumes. She awoke confused, heart racing, then chastised herself. This was madness. A human? A technician? But she sent a message. Technician T, your report on Outpost 17 solar regulator was reviewed. Curious methodology. I wish to understand your logic. Respond when possible. He didn't reply immediately. For 2 days, she pretended she hadn't sent it. But on the 3rd day, his reply came. Your curiosity is noted. I followed the math. No title, no preamble, no fear. It was absurd and exhilarating. She replied with a question about the algorithm he used. He responded with a stripped-down formula and a note. I assumed efficiency mattered more than elegance. The days that followed brought more exchanges. They never spoke of politics or names, just systems, patterns, physics. Each conversation deepened her fascination. He saw the universe not in ranks or hierarchies, but in problems to be solved and truths to be discovered. It was addictive. At court, she resumed her facade. The emperor approved the final marriage rites. Her union with Krovar would proceed in 3 weeks. Her chambers were fitted with ceremonial regalia. She nodded, smiled, endured. But at night, she read T's notes. He'd started sending small anecdotes from his life at the outpost. Nothing dramatic, but sincere. Fixing a pressure leak in the coolant lines. Teaching a maintenance drone to recognize sarcasm in diagnostic errors. It made her laugh. Genuinely. He never asked who she was. She never offered. It was a fragile thing they'd built, but real. And real was something Vaelora hadn't tasted since childhood. One evening, she asked, "Why do you stay out there?" He replied, "Because no one tells me how to think." Her fingers hovered over the console. The truth came unbidden. "I'm being told who to marry." The pause in his response felt endless. When it came, it was just 3 words. "That's not right." She stared at those words long after the screen dimmed. No one had ever said that to her before. Not her tutors, not her parents, not her advisors. In the Empire, what was done was right because it was decreed. She didn't sleep. She stared out the stars, wondering what a life free from decree would even look like. The next morning, she stood in front of the Imperial Council, listening to logistical plans for her union to Krovar, his convoy's arrival, the ceremonial guests, the feast protocols. Vaelora heard none of it. She was thinking about a human in a cold outpost, and for the first time, she realized she didn't want the stars. She wanted him. The Theraxian Empire was a lattice of control and fear, built over millennia and reinforced by obedience. But in the following days, that lattice began to show fractures, small ones, invisible to most, but deepening within Princess Vaelora's mind. Her exchanges with the human technician, T, became her escape. Their messages were short, efficient, but layered. He never flattered, never bowed. He offered ideas, jokes, observations. Sometimes philosophical, sometimes dryly humorous. In one message, he noted, "If I drop another hydrospanner into the coolant vat, I'll start believing gravity here has a grudge." She laughed so hard she had to mute her chambers. Vaelora began skipping ceremonial reviews. She delayed dress fittings. She gave vague excuses about preparations. But truly, she was studying Outpost 17. Its schematics, its isolation, and most of all, the man who lived there in quiet defiance of the galaxy's madness. She accessed his personnel file again. His name was Tristan Hale. Age, 31. Earthborn. No noble blood. No military distinction. Drafted during the Resource Wars and later transferred to Engineering Corps. Deemed not dangerous, but prone to ideological nonconformity. She whispered his name to herself. Tristan. His record held no accolades. Yet his systems ran cleaner than any Theraxian station she had inspected. His reports were clear, his repairs precise. No one praised him, but everything he touched functioned better. It was the kind of excellence that expected no reward. She'd been surrounded by ambition her entire life. This quiet competence was alien and beautiful. The Palace AI noted she was spending an unusual amount of time reviewing border maintenance logs. She waved off the alert. That night, she sent Tristan a riskier message. "Do you believe in duty?" He responded after an hour. "I believe in doing what's right, even when no one's watching." She typed, then deleted, then typed again. "I think I was raised to believe duty was the same as obedience." His reply, "They aren't. One's from the heart. The other's from someone else's orders." Silence lingered. Her fingers trembled. What if I disobeyed? Tristan's response came slower this time. "Depends. Is it for something you believe in? Or just because you're afraid?" She stared at that message for a long time. Her whole life had been built around fear, of disappointing the Empire, of being seen as weak, of being cast aside. But now, there was something she believed in, even if she couldn't define it yet. She began drafting a request for travel, ostensibly a diplomatic inspection of border installations. It was a stretch, but within her authority. She chose a route that passed by Outpost 17. Her aides objected. The timing was poor. The wedding was imminent. Her father might see it as disrespectful. She didn't care. After days of bureaucracy and resistance, the request was approved. Barely. She left under the guise of diplomatic outreach. The journey would take 6 days by cruiser. As her ship departed Thalzar Prime, she felt a strange freedom descend. The weight of the Citadel, the staring eyes, the gilded lies, they were behind her. She sent one message. "I'm coming to inspect the outpost." Tristan's reply came quickly. "I assume this isn't about a leaky reactor." "No," she replied. "It isn't." The cruiser landed at the edge of the rocky installation, nestled in a barren world that felt like it had forgotten the stars. A lone dome shimmered in the dusty horizon, Outpost 17. She stepped out in plain clothes, no royal insignia. Her guards remained on the ship. She walked the path alone. The airlock hissed open, and he stood there, expression unreadable. Taller than she imagined, leaner, eyes sharp but tired. "Tristan Hale." "You're early," he said. "I needed to see," she replied. He stepped aside. "No bow. No titles. Then come in." The outpost was clean but functional. No excess. He offered water. She took it. They sat across from each other at a workbench cluttered with tools and circuit boards. For a long time, neither spoke. Then she asked, "Why do you keep everything running here?" He looked at her with a faint smile. "Because if I don't, someone dies. Maybe not today, but eventually." "You think the Empire cares?" "No, that's why I do." She leaned forward. "You've had no audience, no recognition. Recognition's a currency that rots you. I'd rather sleep at night." She stared at him like he was a relic of a forgotten species, one that spoke not in conquest, but in conscience. They walked the outpost. He showed her repairs he was planning, systems he'd optimized, messages he'd filtered from nearby stations. His work was better than anything taught in academies. Yet no one cared, except her. As dusk approached, she stood outside under a scarlet sky and said, "I was raised to rule, told I'd be a queen. But lately I think maybe I was meant for something smaller, something more real." He said nothing, just stood beside her. Then, without asking, she reached for his hand. He led her. In the dark, among machines and silence, something stirred between them. Unspoken but undeniable. Not lust, not politics. Recognition. They were two people who saw the universe differently. And in each other, they saw the possibility of a life not dictated by bloodlines or battle maps. Later that night, they shared stories, not of thrones or commands, but of childhoods. Her memories of forbidden stargazing, his tales of jury-rigged toys made from junkyard scraps. He asked, "Will they come for you?" "Yes," she said. "They'll want me back in chains of silk and duty." "Then stay," he said quietly. "No silk here. Just stubborn machines and a man who won't lie to you." Her voice broke. "That's more than I've ever had." No kiss, no promises, just two truths laid bare, and the fragile beginning of rebellion. In her mind, a decision formed, not yet spoken, but real. She wouldn't go back. Not yet. Maybe not ever. The days passed when ease Vaelora had never known. No attendants, no royal decrees, no suffocating expectations. Just Tristan, the outpost, and the quiet hum of machines that cared little for bloodlines. For the first time in her life, she slept without dreams of obligation. Each morning, she woke before him. She'd sit near the viewport, watching the red sun crawl across the desolate horizon. She found beauty in the emptiness. In a way, it mirrored her soul, scrubbed clean of false purpose, waiting for something real. Tristan repaired a broken water filtration conduit. On the third day, she held the tools. He explained the system to her, slowly, methodically. She caught on quickly. Theraxian education had made her a strategist. But here, she learned how to use her hands. "You're a good teacher," she said. "I'm not a teacher," he replied. "But you teach," she smiled. He gave her a long look. "And you learn. Not something I expected from royalty." "I'm not royalty here," she said. They fell into a rhythm. Meals shared in silence or with small laughter. Brief walks outside the dome. Her personal guard, still on the cruiser, was kept in the dark. She told him only that she needed solitude. In truth, she needed Tristan. Their connection deepened not in proclamations, but in the ordinary. When she burned the nutrient loaf, and he simply scraped off the char and ate it anyway. When he lent her a tattered manual, and she returned it with margin notes and questions. He was different from anyone in the Empire, not because he defied power, but because he didn't crave it. And in that absence, she saw strength. On the fifth night, a Theraxian patrol ship pinged the outpost. They were scanning for the princess's vessel. Her cruiser was cloaked by a low-power shield. Tristan's outpost had passive camouflage. It would hold, for now, but she knew the time was running out. She stood in the engine bay, gripping a spanner like it could ward off fate. "They'll find me soon," she said. Tristan nodded. "Then we use what time we have." She stepped closer. "Why aren't you afraid?" "I am," he said, "but not of them. I'm afraid of what you'll choose." She didn't answer. Instead, she kissed him. It wasn't graceful. It wasn't rehearsed. It was raw, desperate, full of every unspoken thought and all the weight of what might be lost. He didn't pull away. Afterward, she pressed her forehead to his. "I don't want to be a symbol. I just want to be me." "Then stay," he whispered. But the next day, the outpost long-range sensors caught something massive, an Imperial dread cruiser. It wasn't just a patrol. It was her father's ship. They had come. She stared at the screen. "They'll demand I return. They'll claim this is treason." Tristan didn't flinch. "Then make your decision now, while it's still yours." Her heart pounded. All her life, she had followed the path set for her. This was her moment to break it. She entered the old comm room, transmitted a single message. "To the Emperor of Thalzar, I am no longer a piece on your board. I am not returning. If you want to chain me, come. But know this, I chose this place. I chose this life. And I will not go quietly." Then she shut the channel. Tristan watched her with awe and fear. "They'll burn this place to ground." "Then we make it costly," she said. They worked through the night. She helped rig traps in the outer fields. He modified the energy grid to overload on command. They sent a warning to her guard aboard the cruiser. "Flee." The guards hesitated, torn between duty and survival. In the end, loyalty gave way to fear. They vanished into warp space. By dawn, the dread cruiser loomed over the outpost. It sent a final warning: surrender, return, or be eradicated. Laura stood before the viewport. She didn't waver. Tristan took her hand. "You don't have to do this." "I do," she said, "because if I don't, I'll never be free." The countdown began. 10, 9, 8. She braced herself. 7, 6. Tristan activated the overload sequence. 5, 4, 3. Then nothing. No fire. No beam. No detonation. Instead, the dread cruiser powered down its weapons. A message came through. "Princess Laura, by royal decree of your father, Emperor Theraxx IX, you are disowned, your name stricken, your inheritance revoked. You are no longer the Empire." She stood still. Then she smiled. "Then I am free." The dread cruiser turned and left. She collapsed into Tristan's arms, not in weakness, but in relief. For the first time in her life, she had chosen herself. He looked at her. "So, what now?" She kissed him again. "Now," she said, "we build something real, from the ground up, together." And outside, beneath a red sky, the stars bore silent witness to the rebirth of the soul, and the beginning of a new story, not forged in war or blood, but in the quiet, defiant choice of love.